good afternoon to you in Ukraine. I guess I want to understand from the perspective of the Ukrainian military or people who are fighting Russia for Ukraine, whether this activity is filtering down to them and what it means and whether it matters to them.
Yeah, go ahead. Hello. Thank you for having me here. Actually, we have not felt yet that Russia is moving its forces towards Moscow, but in my opinion, soon they will have to move the forces to defend Moscow and Moscow region, in my opinion. So it's going to feel better for us, and we're going to deoccupy Ukrainian territories away faster.
So and Mamuka.
Go ahead, Terrell.
Yeah, Mamuka, another thing that you were talking about earlier, you have extensive experience fighting Wagner mercenaries, and so you can speak to the capabilities of the chaos that's happening in Russia right now. They were at Rostov on Don. Do they have the capacity and capabilities to make it all the way to Moscow?
In my opinion, they do have capabilities because they are better trained, they are better equipped, and in my opinion, Prigozhin was getting ready for this operation for quite a long time. He was getting the ammunition sent to him by Russia and taking it back to Russia to start a fight with Putin, in my opinion. So it is quite possible for him to get to Moscow and to get Putin down, in fact.
Yeah. So another thing, Ali, that's important to keep consideration is that since this is a constantly moving thing, even people here in Ukraine are moving pretty cautiously about what how this is going to impact people here on the ground. For example, whatever weak spots that could potentially be exploited as a result of what's happening in Russia are yet to be fulfilled. This counteroffensive has been grinding, has been ongoing. And so it may take a few days, weeks, even more to determine exactly how our armed forces here could take advantage of what's happening.
But I think this is an important point that Mamuka, the commander, makes, and that is that we know in the West that Russia has been throwing everything it's got at this war. When it ran out of people, it started emptying the prisons to get these people to fight. It doesn't have extra soldiers. So if Russian soldiers now have to defend Russian cities, including the capital, Moscow, or St. Petersburg, or places like that, against even a possible uprising, these are people who cannot be sent to Ukraine to fight. So that is probably the most important advantage, right? That Ukraine faces right now.
Actually, in fact, Prigozhin was preparing this operation, and Putin was not preparing to counteract. So he has mostly experienced soldiers now, and they're not, few. Putin was not ready for this development of events, and in fact, he doesn't know what to do now. And they will be trying to move all the resources from the front lines to defend Moscow now. So it's very positive development of events for Ukraine.
And of course, Terrell, for the perspective of NATO and the countries, the non-NATO countries who have been supporting Ukraine, we're in a pivotal moment right now because Ukraine has been trying to break through and make some territorial gains. They have had some success, but after months and months of getting all the weaponry that they've been asking for, including the fact that they're now going to soon start to get training on the F-16 jets and get those F-16 jets, this is a shot in the arm that the Ukrainians needed. It's not that Prigozhin's going to be any nicer to Ukraine than Putin was. He's a bit of a maniac, but it may give Ukraine a little bit of momentum.
Certainly it does. I mean, it's definitely been an encouraging development here in Ukraine. You particularly see this on social media where people are really kind of really taking pleasure in the dysfunction that's happening in Ukraine. But the main thing that viewers need to recognize is that this counteroffensive is moving on largely without air support. And so these type of counteroffensives has never really happened before. And so you brought up the F-16, something that the Ukrainians have been asking for since the beginning of this war, and that had they had this training and had these F-16s been on the ground here, then this war, many argue here, would have ended much sooner. So what's happening here, and even the marginal gains that's taking place right now, are something of a miracle, given that that Ukraine does not have total air supremacy.
Commander Mamashvili, let me ask you something about soldiers like yourself. What do you think of with respect to Prigozhin? Do people think about him? What is he known for? What's his, is he a target of your attentions? And is he taken seriously?
He's definitely the target of our attention. We've been fighting Wagner for the last several months. We destroyed quite a big forces of Wagner on Bakhmut direction, but generally it is a positive event because one terroristic group is going to face another terroristic group of Putin, and it's going to play a good role for Ukraine. That's what makes us, motivated.
Another thing, Ali, I just wanted to add, Mamuka has been fighting the Russians since the early 1990s. He was 14, 15 years old, in fact, when he fought in Abkhazia. And then from there, he fought the Russians on the Chechen side during the first civil war. And so his experience of fighting Moscow goes back more than 30 years. And so he's one of the few soldiers here that can recall his childhood where he actually took up arms against this ongoing battle between Russia and Putin's so-called near abroad.
Well, this is an important point you bring up because Mamuka, we in the West have largely come to know Prigozhin's name since the invasion last year. But Prigozhin has been fighting in Ukraine since Crimea, since 2014. It was in Donetsk. It was Prigozhin's guys who were going in there. So he actually has his abilities and performance in Ukraine, whether you like him or not, have been stronger than that of the Russian military.
Yes, as I mentioned, his group is better equipped. Putin gave him a green light, actually, to occupy several parts of Ukraine. So he's quite, for a long time, engaged in this war. And he recently, after the full-scale war, he just showed up and, recognized that they are here and they tried to occupy Ukraine from 2014. So, it is quite strong group, and they just faced Russian mobilized soldiers.
And another thing to add, Ali, is that this has geopolitical implications here in the Black Sea region because Mamuka explained to me that a lot of the troops that have been moved to Ukraine have come from Abkhazia and South Ossetia. More than 20% of Georgia is currently under Russian occupation. Mamuka said that if this ends up being successful in regards to diverting Wagner's troops out of Ukraine and fast pacing a victory here, that can mean trouble for Abkhazia, South Ossetia, for Russia. And he said, in fact, that his men could take over Abkhazia and South Ossetia in 24 hours because the troops have been deployed outside of those regions.
Every troop that has to be... Go ahead. I was going to say every troop that has to be relocated to protect the motherland is a troop that can't be somewhere else.
Yes, they were sent from the beginning of the full-scale war. All the troops from Abkhazian region, it is a part of Georgia occupied by Russia, have been sent to Ukraine. And from Tskhinvali, South Ossetian region of Georgia, also they sent most of the forces. There are maybe 100 soldiers left, actually, And actually, for Georgia, it's a chance to deoccupy its occupied territories.
This is interesting,
and also
because this mirrors the collapse of the Soviet Union, right? Russia was so occupied in Afghanistan with so many soldiers there that they just couldn't do all the other stuff all over the place. This is a country that during the Soviet times and in the post-Soviet times has relied on its military might, its ability to put soldiers and weaponry and missiles and nuclear threat in places, and a threat at home, regardless of whether this is the most serious threat or not. Regardless of whether Prigozhin will succeed in a coup, Moscow has no choice but to defend against it, which means that Moscow, being an interventionist country all over the place, starts to have its limitations starting today.
Absolutely. And another thing that's important to keep in mind is that Ukraine is really the first modern military that Putin has really fought. When you think about Chechnya, which was pretty much bombed into submission, didn't have air support, didn't have the sophisticated training and experience of the Ukrainian soldiers here and people like Mamuka. Keep in mind that places like Moldova, which was granted EU candidacy status, they have a small sliver of land, Transnistria, where Russian troops are also there. So there are a lot of pressure points from a whole bunch of angles that Putin did not anticipate, primarily because he didn't expect Ukraine to fight back so fiercely and the international community to contribute arms as frequently as they did. And so all of these pressure points are going to be unsustainable for Putin to handle, precisely because these troops are being spread thin.
What do you think is going to happen, Mamuka? And I only ask you this not because I want you to predict it, but morale right now is really important for Ukrainians. What the world forgets is that there are tens of thousands of Ukrainian civilians who have joined the military or the civilian defense who have been injured. They've been maimed. They're missing limbs. This has been a hard war with power outages and cold winters. What does this do for Ukrainians? Is there a spirit in Ukraine that is being felt that says something's faltering in Russia and this could be good for us?
Actually, what we see today is the collapse of former Soviet Union. What we saw in 90s, it was not the collapse. Today is the total collapse of former Soviet Union, and Ukraine is on the front line of this. Actually, the morale is very good. Georgian Legion is the largest foreign formation in Ukraine, and we're doing our best to support our friends, as they supported us in 90s and in 2008. All the Georgians will be here to deoccupy of the Ukraine. It's a historical moment when good defeats evil.